Yeah, so as I'm listening and watching the various videos and people that are making comments about, 14.1.4 and 5, and some people are saying, talking about sentience. Um, it seems to me, again, using one of the more famous male female, subsets of skills, and women tend to have this thing called intuition. When I talk to my wife about intuition, she says intuition really is a matter of observation. So women are more likely to observe your facial, what you're doing with your face. In other words, your body language that's in your face and your hands and the way that you're sitting, et cetera, like an FBI agent might do. So women are paying more attention to that kind of stuff, where guys are paying less attention. And so even though it seems like it's sentient, it seems like another level of sentience, where how can women, they have an eye in the back of their head when the kids are playing. No, it's a higher level of observation in those areas. And so this becomes the philosophical question on a robot is is there any level of where it really is sentience, or is it just higher skill sets being able to use its 8 eyes or 9 eyes or whatever it's got now, use better better microphone systems, and then as was pointed out on the ATF, I'm sorry, Peter Diamandis's channel last night, as they were pointing out, it also does it so much faster. And as humans, we think of intelligence and sentience as something that's happening very rapidly. And
Yeah.
if you're able to solve a math problem in your head while somebody else is sitting there going, and having to write it down, you have a higher degree of intelligence.
Yeah.
So these kinds of things, philosophically, as we over the next couple of 3 years, probably we'll be having this conversation a lot more. Is will it ever, if it's numbers, to your point, if it's just numbers, will it ever truly be sentient, or will it just be a really fast reasoning machine who has superhuman
Yeah. Yeah.
ability to
Yeah.
see and hear? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's a great question. And, I'm not trying to approach this from a human cognitive comparison.
yeah, yeah,
I think it's, no, I think it's important to recognize that, what we're talking about is the perceptions of sentience. We're not necessarily saying
yeah,
it has this kind of thing that we are still confused about, like a human consciousness.
yeah.
What is consciousness, and when does it when does it when does it boot up in the human,
Right.
and does it last until we die, or does it go on after we die? The human body, kind of is the human body necessary? All these philosophical questions are something that I think we can dial back on and say that these systems are not that system, at least not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't need to think about that. Like I don't
Mhm.
I think of a reasoning system does not need all those definitional aspects.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe the word sentient is an important thing where you might need some of those aspects, but in the paper I talk about the perception of
Right.
sentience, not necessarily the actual
Right.
actuality of it, because I can't even define it. All
Exactly.
right.
Nobody has yet.
Yeah. So I think what we're talking about is just leaning further and further into this is why I said in, so inputs are important.
Mhm.
Those inputs are those reasoning tokens are an expression of the why the box is doing the thing it's doing, which is super important to the reasoning equation.
Right.
The ability to manage state is super important to the observation that it can be a reasoning system, that it can work through states. You have to manage states, you have to work through states. The idea that it's interacting with you gives it a higher level of intelligence and from your perception.
Mhm.
We think of we often think of these things as like today we think of when you manage FSD, you say, okay, I'm going to put it in chill mode or standard mode or Mad Max mode, and these are modes, and within these modes are potentially maybe 100 little parameters that, like Mad Max is like, here's the minimum vehicle offset to front vehicle, rear vehicle. Here's the minimum lane change requirements in terms of, vehicles on our hip and all those. Now imagine that. So Tesla will never express all of those things as preferences in user interfaces because they will not need to. They will talk to us and we will tell the car. And it may operate in effectively Mad Max mode for a piece of a highway, but not another piece.
Yeah.
So for example, we might say, don't exceed 79 miles an hour anywhere on the 280 northbound between San Jose and San Francisco, because we know that the police are there at, 80 miles an hour. That they're willing to give you a ticket, but not at 79.
Sure.
By the way, which is true. So we may tell the car, just whatever you do, don't exceed 79 miles an hour. I don't need the car, I don't need that kind of situation. But then you'd expect the car, just through all the other aspects of its perception, to start to be able to do something that's way beyond that box. Way beyond that box is, well, why don't you build up a database of every single time you see a car pulled over on a highway segment and see what the density of, now you may not know why the car is pulled over. It may not be a speeding thing. You don't necessarily know the reasons, but you can, if the car's recorded that, if the car's in aggregate communicated out, in other words, consider it another piece of data on the maps.
The future is here. The singularity is coming. Grab your copy today, available now on Amazon in Kindle, print, or Audible. Unlock the future one page at a time. What will you build tomorrow?